comments and then, oh, well, first, wait a minute, first we have to do the protocols. I'm sorry. Our town manager is remote this evening, and we're being ably assisted by our deputy town manager in-house. So, Matt, why don't you, announce the protocols?
Yeah, sorry to I didn't mean to cut you off with when it made the recording announcement, but as everybody just heard, this meeting's being recorded. So I am setting we'll set that up so you can rewatch or watch for the first time on the town's webpage and YouTube channels. If we do get interrupted in some way, we'll end up just cutting the meeting, and then I'll send out a new link for us to join so we can carry on. But hopefully that won't be an issue for us.
Oh, good, Councilor.
Let's see. Yes, yep. We now have a quorum. There is closed captioning available for anybody who needs to. And if you don't mind keeping your camera off, that makes our recording, other than the people that are actively engaged in the discussion, just makes the recording a little bit cleaner for us. And let's see, last but not least, I'll just ask anybody who's joining, if I don't have your name or information handy, I'll ask you to I'll just shoot you a message so that you can identify yourself for the record.
Here's the president.
Other than that, back to you, Mr. Mayor.
So the president has arrived, and so I assume, Mr. Town Manager, that you are monitoring the audience in case anybody has a question for you.
Yeah.
Online. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, so thank Mr. President, welcome. So I'm going to turn it over to you to conduct. We're now, the first item is the discussion with the police officers, and Sergeant Chung is here.
That's great. And I apologize. I'm still dealing with the emergency in the house. We have some escaped rescue cats. And the situation is not positive right now, so I cannot lead the meeting. I'm just going to try and monitor it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
If I resolve the situation, I'll get to the meeting later.
Okay, good.
Apologies.
I hope that all works out for you.
Thank you.
We're very pro cat here. So, Sergeant, I'm sure you understand the history of the police presence in Somerset. Many years ago, the council voted to provide supplementary police service for the town, and at the time, it was mostly because of the problem about stop sign violations and speeding. But when the program was funded, there were no protocols, rules, regulations, policies. So we've basically been winging it for, what is it, Councilman Barr, 18 years? Many years. So this new council has, and a number of residents have questioned. It has nothing to do with the officers that we've employed who've been outstanding, but the whole program is sort of being reviewed. And so the council, particularly Councilmember Kumar and Councilor Rovak, who's the liaison to the Public Safety Committee, they advocated that the council do some fact finding. And so that's basically why we invited you and Officer Alcott to join us tonight. So we it's not an oversight of the performance of the officers. It's really to find out about the program and to get some of your input on how it might be working or not working and what you might suggest. So I didn't know if you wanted to make a few comments first, or we can just go straight to questions. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay, good. Okay.
I think we can go straight to questions. I think you, Mr. Mayor, did a pretty good explanation of our current program. And I think the council is doing a good job by trying to figure out which direction we should be taking from now. So yeah, I think we can address some of the questions that the council might have.
Okay, wonderful. And maybe Matt, Matt, do you want to add anything about what you and the staff have been doing to analyze the whole situation?
I don't have a whole lot to add at this point. Just sort of reiterate your point, Mr. Mayor, that we, are open to, any dialogue or suggestions as we try to formulate a coherent safety and security policy for the town. So, thank you to Sergeant Chung for taking time out of the evening tonight to meet with us, and we may have future discussions in the future. So thank you, and also to Officer Alcott, who's not able to be here tonight, but has also expressed openness to being part of that dialogue.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the council president is not currently on.
Sorry.
Oh, did you want to lead off with some Mr. President, did you want to lead off with some questions or comments?
Yes, please, if it's okay. First off, thank you for the introduction, Mr. Mayor. Because we're really just trying to, in particular, the Public Safety Committee, but also the Traffic Safety Committee are sort of reassessing programs to provide value to the town. And I know some of the questions folks have related to the police officers include the use of a logbook. And I don't know if there's any issues with completing the logbook.
That's a question of Sergeant Chung, correct?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I believe Officer Alcott had an issue with the logbook, mainly because he got a brand new computer and he didn't have a link to open
Okay.
the program. And I sent him a new link, but it wasn't working because I believe he was because we have to use our personal account and not a county issued account. I think he was having problems with some credentials and stuff. But I don't think there's a major issue on the program on the actual application itself. When we first created it, we didn't anticipate putting a lot of log in it, but we ended up using all the spots available, so we ended up creating more. But yeah, besides sending a new link and making that work for Officer Alcott, I didn't see a major issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I was also curious about, I guess, a broader look at the program. If you have experience with similar programs in other neighboring jurisdictions, are there pros or cons of the way other jurisdictions might be doing things differently? And I guess I'm just curious if you have any suggestions.
Well, I think other areas where I work or used to work, we have a specific goal. They either have a problem and they say, hey, we need this problem solved.
Okay.
For instance, if I go work at a church or a synagogue. They have a specific mission. They have it could be a threat, or it could be, if I work at a store, they might say, hey, we're having thefts, and we need presence. But I think when we work at the town, um, besides sporadic issues that we might see, as far as everyday operation, um, we don't have a specific direction from the council or from the town. So we try to focus, myself and Officer Alcott try to focus on um, any uh, any daily issues, or any issues that are known in the area. So we just try to focus on that. But I think if um, the town, or if the people who live in the town, if they have a specific issue, if that can be communicated to us, we can certainly address that.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I don't have any other questions at the time. Do any of the other council members have questions?
Yes, I do. This is Robin Barr. Could you just clarify to us what you see as your authorities in this secondary employment relative to your authorities when you're working in your primary employment? How do they differ?
I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear your question. Are you asking me the difference between our primary job and then our job
Yeah,
at the town?
what are your authorities in this job here in your secondary employment versus your authorities in your primary job? Yes.
Okay. When we work at our primary job, we have full authority. We have the authority to make an arrest, issue citations. So we have no limit to our police authority. When we're working for the town, because we're off duty, we sort of act as a watchman. If there is an issue, then technically what we're supposed to do is, because we're watchmen, we're supposed to call the on-duty officers that are working and have them come out and address the issue. Obviously, if there's any exigency, or if there's an emergency, then we will act as a police officer and address the issue. But ultimately, what we have to do is call the on-duty officers that are working, and have them, write a report or handle the incident. So I guess what we do is, because we are working for the town, if there's an issue at the town, we normally try to take care of it ourselves. If it's something that myself or Officer Alcott can take care of it without calling the on-duty officers, we try to take care of it ourselves. The only time that we would call maybe an on-duty officer is maybe to take a report, or if we need additional resources to take care of that incident, then that's when we'll call the on-duty officers. But as far as our limitation goes, when we're working on duty, we have full capabilities. When we're working at the town, we're in an off-duty capacity, and we're supposed to, watch and observe, and in certain cases, call the on-duty officers to handle it. But like I said, myself and Officer Alcott, we generally try to handle it ourselves.
All right, thank you. I mean, to clarify that, technically, are you any different from a private citizen in your official role in the town? Could a private citizen do what you're doing?
Oh, well, you can certainly see something and then call 911 if that's what you're asking.
Right.
But as far as our capabilities goes, if we see something, what we do is, because we have police powers within the town, we'll act on it.
Right. But you can't use your county authorities in acting on it, though, correct?
I'm sorry?
You can't use the county authorities in acting on it, though, but
I can,
you can.
yes,
So can you make an arrest for the
yes,
county in your off-duty?
absolutely. Any other questions?
Well, I'm puzzled by that, actually. It is, you said at one point that you were technically supposed to call the on-duty officer when something happens. And I presume therefore it is the on-duty officer who would make the arrest. But you were saying that you can make the arrest yourself.
Yes, so we have full capabilities as a police officer, even when we're off duty. What I'm saying is, you know, our policy dictates that if we need to make an arrest, we have to call on-duty officer. So for example, if I see a car breaking, or if I see somebody breaking into somebody's house, then me as an off-duty police officer, I can still act on it and make a physical arrest. Once the arrest is made, I would call the on-duty officer to come and handle the arrest as far as the processing goes. But me as a police officer, I can still make an arrest.
All right, thank you. That will clarify it. All right.
Can I tack on, Councilmember Barr, because I know that one question that's come up that maybe Sergeant Chung can clarify for us is ticketing authority you have as secondary officers for traffic violations, parking violations, things like that.
Same thing with that. Even as off duty, we can still make traffic stops. We can still issue parking citations, traffic citations. So we have full authority on that. Yes.
Thank you.
I think Councilmember Heller's next.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Officer Chung, and thank you for your work in the town. I think we all appreciate, both you and Officer Alcott. But I have a question about traffic. I think that many people in the town feel that we have a stopping at stop signs traffic problem. We might feel that people speed through the town where they can. Probably they don't speed in the morning, during school is in session, but people speed down Dorset Avenue. And I'm wondering if you see traffic as a problem here. I mean, people not obeying the rules, the stop signs, or possibly speeding. Do you see that as an issue?
To me personally, I don't see that issue a lot. The way that Dorset is designed, we have speed bumps. We also have traffic that's parked on one side of the road, which kind of creates a bottleneck. So I don't really see a speed problem on Dorset, or even on the side streets. When I'm patrolling or driving around through the town, I don't really see anybody speed or zoom by me or anything like that. Occasionally, we do see stop sign violations. They're mainly like we call it the California roll, where they don't make a full stop and then just kind of slowly keep rolling. So we do see those type of violations, but I don't see any concerning speeding violations.
Okay. I think mostly what many of us see is the California stop at the sign. In New York, we would call that just rolling through the stop sign. But I do see it as a problem. Okay, just as a member of the community, as a council member, I see stop sign violations as a real problem. And I know that I would love to see you guys get before that and stop people that are, even if they're rolling through, they need to be stopped. They need to be told they can't do that. and possibly given a ticket. You know, especially the guys on Dorset Avenue. The guys on Dorset that come through Dorset Avenue, even though we all in the town drive it, but many people are just passing through. And I think they should be stopped. I think anybody should be stopped who rolls through the stop sign and doesn't stop. Because I think that is a problem. I think most people would agree with me on that. So that's what I'm thinking. And if I could encourage you to do that, I think that'd be really helpful.
Sure, that's
That's all I
definitely
want.
something that we can enforce. And is there a specific time that you're seeing a lot of these issues?
Just, you know, I'm on the road at different times. You know, I don't, you know, drive generally at rush hour. I'm kind of just more of a middle of the day driver, you know, so I just see it. I see it all the time. And I do see some speeding down Dorset Avenue, which I find amazing because they just take those bumps. And it tells me those people don't live here, the people that take the bumps, because a lot of them don't realize it. I think most of us that live here, we know where all the bumps are.
Let me give you
So,
some historic perspective, which I think that Sergeant Chung knows, is that, so we implemented the program because so many residents complained about speeding and stop sign violations. Then, when we discovered that most of the violators were residents, and they complained, why are we getting, well, because I think in the beginning, you know, some of them were stopped and given warnings. And then, you know, earlier town managers, they got sort of they didn't want to rock the boat. So basically, and you know, given, just like I said before, there were no protocols in place. So it kind of the enforcement kind of stopped from that there had been in the beginning.
Well, maybe
So
it's
it's
time
kind of
to,
been like a whole, it's kind of been, you know, we, just like I've said over and over again, we had no strict policies and procedures in place. So the officers were gun shy about even stopping people. So that's like the bottom line. So some of the reason why you might say it's not effective is because we didn't really have a program, and we didn't have an effective program in place. Okay, I'm sorry.
well, it's time to make it effective, or
I
why
had to
bother?
bring that in.
Okay, I got it.
So you're done with your
Yes, sir.
questions, Councilmember Hallower?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Matt, for setting this up. Really appreciate it. Sergeant, are we saying your name right? Is it Sergeant Chong or is it Cheong, or please correct us.
Sergeant Chung's fine.
Sergeant Chong, thank you. Very nice to meet you. And as Councilmember Heller noted, very grateful for your service to our town, even in your private capacity. I wanted to get a sense of, you know, your job, and then pick up a comment you made at the introduction, which is, you know, what you might need from us so you can do your job better and you can serve the town better. And so we'd love to come back to that. In terms of your job, how long have you been with the town? And then, you know, you work with Officer Alcott, who I've met. You know, help us understand sort of your typical day or a typical week or a typical month. What exactly are you doing in town? You know, kind of bring us up to speed as sort of what your service activity is in town. So how long you've been, and then what is your typical day, week, month, whatever unit you want to take to help us understand your service in town.
Sure. As far as a specific timeline on how long I've been working for the town, I'm not exactly sure, but it's been years. I want to say it's close to 7, 8 years.
Wow.
That's
So,
probably about right.
yeah. And I think Officer Alcott has been working similarly, I want to say maybe 5 years.
Okay.
And as far as the daily activities or routine that we have is
Yes.
we try not to have a routine. Because once you have a routine, then the bad guys know. But what we try to do is the Bethesda area, the Chevy Chase, Friendship Heights area is always known for high-end thefts or theft from autos, sometimes stolen vehicles. So we try to focus on being showing presence in specific locations, so that we show the presence, so we deter crime, potential crime. So and I try to work at different times whenever I'm there. Sometimes I'm working the overnight hours. Sometimes I'm working the afternoon hours. If there's any, if there's like a traffic complaint, and I'll try to work the rush hours. So I try to work during different hours so I can cover throughout the day. So every time that I come in, it's sort of like different. But we try to focus on specific areas so that we show presence and deter potential crime.
Got it. And show presence is that's when we see the vehicle parked in town. That's what you're doing. And you're picking different locations. Is there some signs to those locations? Like why you might, I am closer to River Road, for instance, or the entrance, so, I see the car on Greystone sometimes, I see it on Surrey sometimes. Is there some logic to these locations, or it's based on incident reports, or is it sort of you're keeping it interesting, as you were saying, and picking different locations?
Both. We're trying to keep it interesting, but those are the entry points of the town. Greystone, right by River, that's one of the entry points. We focus, I want to say 80% on Wisconsin Avenue side, because that's where the potential crime is coming from. Because 355 is more traveled, and historically it's been more traveled by the bad guys. So we try to focus, I want to say 70 to 80% on the 355 corridor. And then other times then we will focus on some of the side streets or the River Road area.
Got it. Then in terms of crime in town, I know we have car theft, and I've had car theft in town. During the pandemic moment, that there were sort of pseudo-violent crimes centered around car theft, I want to say. And then we've also had racially motivated incidents in town. We have check fraud in town, but that's a different kind of crime. I think that's probably the highest incident of crime in town. What's been, over the last 7 to 8 years, what's been your experience of the nature and type of crime that you have experienced and Officer Olcott have experienced in town?
Majority of the crime that we encounter is theft from auto.
I'm sorry?
Theft from auto,
Theft from auto.
where either the cars were left unlocked or property is seen in plain view, and sort of it's a crime of opportunity. If the bad guy comes through the town, they'll open door handles, and if it's open, they'll go in because it's effortless. They'll go in, rummage through the vehicle, and take whatever property they want and leave. If there's any high-end valued property in plain view, even if the car is locked, they might break the window and take the property because it's high-end. That historically, that would have been the major issues that we would see. The pandemic kind of threw everything off. The carjackings and the thefts, the auto thefts, that kind of spiked, not just in our area, but throughout Montgomery County, DC, all the DMV area. but historically, what we see is theft from auto. And I did pull up all the incidents that occurred through the town this year, and the highest reports for fraud, either check schemes or credit card thefts, stuff like that. That was the highest, but we don't really know if it occurred in the town. The credit card could have been stolen somewhere else, but they could have been reporting it at the town when they're home. Checks could have been stolen somewhere else or copied somewhere else. But that was the bulk of the reports this year. Early in the year, we did have like a car theft, and I believe, we had two earlier. I'm sorry, we had one back in January, and we haven't had since. But yeah, like I said, the bulk of it is theft from autos and then fraud calls.
Now, in terms of your interaction with the town and with the residents, I believe this is a rare occurrence that you're coming to brief the council. It's possible it has never happened before, I don't know. But what's been your encounter with town residents? How do you interact with town residents outside the course of a crime being committed? Do you have any interactions while you're posted in town, or is it a rare incident? And then what's been your interaction with? What's your level of interaction with the town staff? What's your level of interaction with the town council?
I think I come to the town council meetings whenever I get invited to by the manager. So I'll come as needed. As far as daily interaction through with the town residents, I think Officer Alcott does a better job than I. I think he's out there talking to more people, and I think that's the major part of it is because he's working during hours that people are out and walking their dogs, and he works during the daylight hours. I try to focus on the later hours, and so I don't really see a lot of people. So my interaction has been kind of minimal. Officer Alcott has been out there talking to the residents a little more, but it's not a lot. I can tell you that, yeah.
And with the town staff, the town manager and the town staff?
I think we email, myself and the manager, we email, and we talk as needed. So for example, if there's like a major event like the Halloween event, then we would do a planning and then a post-action planning for the future. But I think it's as needed.
If you don't mind me asking, do you have other off-duty jobs?
Yes, I have other off-duty jobs.
Are they similar in towns, or are they of a different nature?
Well, the mission is the same. The mission itself is, we as police officers, we're there to either deter crime or make an arrest. So that's sort of the mission. Certain locations that I work for, they have a specific mission. Like, I work at a synagogue, and obviously they have a specific mission. Another place that I work at is they want to protect their property, so that's a specific mission. But overall, it's under the same umbrella of police, where I can enforce law.
Is this the only town you're working in an off-duty capacity, or do you work in any other towns in an off?
This is my only town.
Your only town. Okay. And is that true for Sergeant Alcott too?
I don't know about Officer.
You don't know. Okay, fair enough. Now, in coming back to your opening statement, what can we do to make you more effective in your job? I mean, there isn't a high volume of crime, as you noted. I don't know whether that's been true over the 8 years period, the pandemic being the anomalous time period that we all experienced. given that context and the broader context, what can we do to help you be more effective in your job?
Just communicate to us what you guys would like to see. If you want to see more stop sign enforcement, then communicate that to us either via Mr. Trollinger or email. Just communicate to us, specific needs that you have, and we'll try to address that.
Got it. Are there areas, or based on the historic incidents, are there areas that you would recommend that we focus on, and that we share with both you and Sergeant Alcott?
Yeah, I think more education on how to protect your assets and your property and your valuables, and then just overall safetiness. But I think a little more education could help. And then, yeah, just be more, I guess, alert, aware of your surroundings. But I think overall the town has been doing a good job.
Have you ever, on that last bit, have you ever been invited, or have you previously given any educational sessions to residents about how to, protect their property, how to be more vigilant, how to secure their property? Is it, and is this something you are in a position to give?
So I think I've given one presentation, and I believe I did it with the deputy commander. Back then he was a deputy commander of the 2nd District, which was Lieutenant Hackley. I believe I did one session, I think it was last year, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong. And I believe I sent a general email to Mr. Trollinger so that can be shared through the residents on how to properly secure their property and some safety guides. But I haven't done any other presentations besides that. And my current position is not, it's not focused on that. I'm more on special victims investigations. So if there's any most up-to-date information, I wouldn't have it. I can certainly go and get it, but I wouldn't be the go-to guy to give the presentation to. But I can always connect you guys with somebody who can do it.
Do you recommend we do that on an annual basis, set up a learning seminar?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm sure somebody from the 2nd District can give a presentation annually to the town.
And could they do it also on things like check fraud, which is not physical crime as such, but more?
I can inquire about that.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering my questions, and great to meet you. And thank you again for your service.
Sure, of course. Nice to meet you too.
Okay, and I don't think Councilor Robeck is here. So she's not here, right? Okay.
No, she's not at the moment.
Okay, Councilor Barr has the last question.
All right. Would it help you if we gave you better definition of the duties we want you to do in the town?
I think instead of a definition, instead of putting something in writing and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, because if we do that, we're sort of like restricting ourselves into only doing that. I think just constant communication on the some of the issues that you're seeing at that moment, as long as that's communicated to us, we can certainly address that, because the issues can change. Today it could be theft from motos, tomorrow can be traffic, the other day could be something else. So I think as long as those issues that you're seeing is communicated to us, we can certainly address it that way.
Well, I think that's a nice final question, because that what Councilmember Barr just suggested and what you answered could be put into a policy. He doesn't have to be so well defined, but there's never even been that kind of plan put into place. We just hired the officers 20 years ago with no guidelines. So before we move on to the next agenda item, is our town attorney still here?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Town Attorney, is there anything, in light of this discussion, is there any question you had or anything, any kind of advice you wanted to give us as we move forward?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Sergeant Chung, and we will be calling on you again, I'm sure, as we refine what we're doing in terms of police, supplementary police protection for Somerset. But I'm so glad that the council has really made this a priority, I think, for this year. So thank you so much. We're still in the gathering information stage, and you gave us a lot of good information tonight.
All right, well, thank you, and I'm always available to you guys, so if you
Yes,
guys.
and as everybody said, everybody is so appreciative of your, dedication and the knowledge and experience you've had as an officer. It's been so helpful to us.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
you,
so
Sergeant. Happy holidays.
the next item is pool committee request. Is Steve still, Council President Circa, are you still here? I guess he is.
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, you're here. Okay,
I'm
so
here.
are you able to continue to lead the meeting?
No, I can't, sorry, I can just monitor.
Okay, cool. All right, so Mr. Town Manager, take the lead on this, please.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm not used to muting
You're
and
right.
unmuting myself
It's
at
okay.
the town hall. And Councilmember Heller might also want to add, but there were a few relatively minor changes to the pool rules that the pool committee recommended for the town council to adopt. So I included just the whole rule packet, and they had highlighted in bold the areas that they wanted changes. Most of them were just clarifying certain things that I think were or are supposed to be the standard practice, but maybe need a little bit of reinforcing. So, for example, that the bridge should only be used for disabled persons or people that are dropping off people with disabilities. So to make sure that those areas stay open. Clarifying that pets aren't allowed in the pool enclosure except for during the dog swim. And then the town attorney noted that it would make sense to also add in clarification that service animals are permitted in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Clarifying the rules for group events, and I think that actually might have been it.
Okay, so
Councilmember
to refresh everybody's memory, so each year, the council, before each pool season, the council approves the rules for that year. And we appreciate the fact that the pool committee has gotten a head start on this. And the purpose of tonight is to have a discussion as to whether these proposed changes are ready to move forward, to be on a council agenda, or if it requires more input from the pool committee. So I think at this point, I'll just go around and ask people if they have any questions about what Matt and the pool committee have presented. Council President Circo, do you have any questions?
No
need to
questions,
add
thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you moving this forward.
Okay, Council Member Barr.
I have no questions either.
Okay, Councilor Heller.
Okay, I need to add something. We didn't finish something yet. That's why I was surprised to see this here. I thought this wasn't coming like until February. Because we are looking at guest fees. And I know I personally did the survey of the other pools in the areas. In fact, I just sent it to Matt the other day. And Matt
But I
said,
don't think the guest fees aren't they're separate from the pool rules, aren't they?
Gas fees are not shown in the pool
Got that.
rules.
Yeah. So that's fine, Councilmember Heller, because
You know
that's
what?
for the future, but is there anything, do you have any questions about these proposals? Because
Jeffrey,
if not, I'm sorry,
you need to let me finish.
Go
It's
ahead.
not separate. Is if you go to the pool party policy, okay, it says something, I read it, can't find it right now, but, you go to the party thing, it says, something about, you know, you can only have so many guests and then you have to pay $4 a person for your guest for the party. If our guest fee changes, that changes. Because it's not one fee for a party and one fee for a regular guest. So that's why I was surprised to see this here, because as a group, we haven't discussed it yet. And we'll discuss that at our next meeting, which I think is the 9th of January. If I have that right, I'm not exactly sure. So anyway, so I think that it is relevant. So it's okay for us to discuss. I think everything else here is pretty standard stuff. I don't think there's anything that we would need to debate or we'd even want to put, change as a group. I think the pool committee has done a really good job at looking at all these things. So, but anyway, so stay tuned on the guest fees because we're coming back with that.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Kumar, do you have any questions about this?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, so if three of you are ready to have this placed on the agenda for January, then we will move it forward. If you want to delay it until after the meeting, the pool committee meeting, but that's up to all of you. But tonight, this, Councilor Heller, this came to the work session because the pool committee did this early this year, which we're grateful for to have more time. But so it doesn't have to go in January. It can wait if it's all of you's desire to wait until after the meeting. It's up to you.
Matt Trollinger, ask Matt a question. Did Matt Zaft ask you to bring this to the work session now?
Yeah, he had emailed EJ and I after the last pool committee meeting with these changes.
So maybe I can suggest a small change that would help you, Debbie, which is rather than say we'll be charged the guest fee of $4, just say we'll be charged the current guest fee and don't mention the amount. And then that would make it fine.
Thank you, Robin. That's an excellent change.
So,
No, I'm just
so
sorry.
what?
I think it's fine to bring it to the meeting. It's fine.
So, okay, so what we would do if the majority of you agree, if three of you agree, we can move this forward to the January agenda. You know, we publish the proposed changes so that our citizens can comment on it. And so if a majority of you agree, we will move it forward to January with that amendment that the two council members agreed to. And then it'll be put in the journal before the we have time. I guess we have time. Yeah, we have time to put it in the journal because we haven't approved the journal.
And actually, Mr. Mayor, I did in on the docket column, I included a brief overview of what the recommended changes are.
Oh, in the journal. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion to move this forward to the January town council agenda?
I'll make a motion to move it forward.
Okay, I heard the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's the change?
is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. I heard unanimous. Okay, thank you. The next item is the Environment Committee, two requests from the Environment Committee. And I don't know if the town manager or the liaison want to present this.
I could do this, Matt, if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm happy to.
Right, okay,
Hand the
currently
floor to
about
you, Councilmember Moore.
45% of the town using municipal composting service, which means that over half of the town is not using it. So this is an effort by the Environment Committee to increase the numbers. And it is very much a sensible thing to do. Separating food scraps from food waste is very important for the environment. It stops the buildup of methane in food waste. It also allows the food, in general waste, it stops the buildup of methane. It allows the food waste to be converted to compost, which is valuable for the earth. You get some back, so it helps plants grow, blah, blah, blah. So it's a very good thing to be doing if you're separating out food scraps. So the Environment Committee wants to make an effort to get more of the town involved, and this way they also want to tie it into Earth Day 2024. And the idea is to have an opt-out policy rather than an opt-in policy, which is to say that we are going to give you the service with the green bin unless you say no. That's it. So somebody has to do something active to stop the service. And that's their plan.
And is it for this fiscal year?
It would start in next, well, I guess it would start this fiscal year, yes, because it's Earth Day 2024. So yes, it would start this year. Yes.
So what's the budget impact?
It depends how many people sign up, of course.
I mean, how many people opt out?
Yes, right, same thing. But it would increase the costs of it, but it's not like we don't have reserves this year. We do have a lot of reserves this year.
Okay, thank you. Council President Circo, do you have questions about this?
Well, thank you. I think it's an exciting idea, and it certainly is an important issue to tackle, but I would like to see some information or studies that suggest that this policy would actually get more people to compost. My concern is that we'll significantly increase the town's expenses in this area without having an impact on composting. And I guess I'd also be curious why we're not considering other options like making the compost buckets free for people when they join the program. So those are just some of my thoughts.
They are free.
Oh, I thought they were like $20 or something. Okay.
No, I think they're.
Well, Matt will have the answer. Why doesn't he say?
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're free. That's good.
We do cover, the initial costs of the compost bin.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Right.
And currently just back of the envelope math, but we budget about $30,000 for composting. So, roughly double that.
Steve, I don't know of studies that have been done on this particular issue using the opt-out versus the opt-in approach. But switching from opt-in to opt-out has worked in multiple contexts. It most famously worked in signing up for pension plans that used to be an opt-in system. When it switched to an opt-out system, then a vast number signed up on opt-out. In terms of will they compost more, the Environment Committee has a 6-month check on that built in, where they're saying if they're not using the bin, we retrieve them. So it is basically they've got 6 months to put their food scraps aside, and if they don't, then we get the bin back, and the compost crew gets the bin back.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Heller, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. how will the compost company let us know that people aren't using them? Because the team that comes around the neighborhood is not what I would call the A team, okay? I'm a crazy composter. I'm so for composting. I even had to buy the bigger can because I hardly have any trash, and I so support the program, but I don't think with this company that we're using, that they'll be able to really help us with the numbers, okay? And I worry. I guess I'm just asking questions. We're going to debate this, right? You don't want my thoughts right now?
I just had a brainstorm. So first of all, when is Earth Day? Is it April?
It's April the 22nd.
So I think that it's very difficult to have this discussion without the compost crew here. Because, historically, when we have discussions about vendors and contractors without getting the information, we're making all kinds of assumptions. And I think a lot of questions that I'm hearing from Councilor Heller needs to be addressed to the contractor, the expert. So, because the issue that's on the table is whether we're going to switch from opt-in to opt-out. And I think that we need to have the contractor here. Don't you think, Councilor Heller?
I think, yes, that's a good idea, but what I really feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. I think if we need education in the neighborhood, that's what we need to do first. So I think people that don't compost, they may not realize that it's really a great thing or that it's easy. Part of the problem, I would bet for some composters, is that the can is terrible. It's a paint can that you have to screw on and off the top. It's not easy to use, which is why I went to the bigger can, because you can, it's just much easier to use. People don't know that you can put a little compost thing that you can get at the Container Store on your counter. And so you don't always have to go to the big one. We need education. I think the town needs education. If over half of our people not doing
we're already
it,
we're already under contract with the compost crew, and they might help with I think they might be able to help with the education.
And I think the Environment Committee can help with the education too, by putting out things in the town journal about compost caddies, which is what you're describing, in fact, Debbie.
Right.
And so there are, this does not preclude using education. It should be part of this.
Well, for that, so remember, some of our procedure is that the committee makes a recommendation, and then the council can decide where it goes. If it moves forward, we can also go back to the committee, and we could ask the committee to be here at a future work session along with the compost group. But did you have any other questions, Councilor Heller?
just one thing, and it's a little off sides, and that is, I would like us to look at a different provider. I'd like to compare the services. I just know of another service in another neighborhood that's much better.
Mr. Town Manager, can you refresh our memory about what is the status of the contract?
I was just looking at that. I don't remember off the top of my head, so I have to look up exactly when that ends. But I can look that up and get that
Yeah, we want to talk about that. I think we have another year on it.
He'll get back to you, Councilor. Councilor Kumar, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think it would be good to have the environmental committee come present to us, because it would be good to understand sort of what analysis they've done, to Councilmember Heller's observations for why there isn't widespread adoption. It could be small nagging issues. I'll point one that I experience, which is that the company, while the service is free from the town, the company still requires you to register your credit card information with them. So when you go online to sign up, they hold they take your card information.
They do.
So that wasn't a deterrent. That was a deterrent for me.
I don't do they, I don't think they do that?
When I signed,
do
when the email went out to sign up, I filled out my information. They asked for card information. So, you know, there could be a number of it's probably just a standard sign up form that they
Wait,
have,
th-
and they didn't update it for the town service.
Is
But
that true?
that was
Is
my
that-
experience. I that's all I can tell you.
I-
But the
I
broader
think we
point
should-
is, the broader point is,
Yeah.
there may be a number of reasons why people are not using it, and it might be worth.
I
I'm
don't
sure
remember
that-
that they asked for that.
Yeah, they did it for us, so maybe that's a different issue. But when I went to
But
sign
But
up,
is that, but maybe
what I'm
did that
saying,
happen
Jeffrey, is,
before?
what I'm
Did that
saying,
happen?
Jeffrey, is
Did that happen? What year was that?
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I don't, that doesn't make any sense to me.
So what I would recommend is and this is something I think the Environment Committee should do, and I've said it before, that they should be making proposals based on analysis. And so it'd be good for them to find out why there isn't widespread usage in town, and before we act on anything. And I'm sure it's all reasonable, but it'd be good to find that out, especially since it doubles our budget. The second thing, I have a minor procedural concern, is that we do, this year in particular, for this fiscal year, I think Matt and the budget committee ran a very, very, impressive process, soliciting a lot of proposals across all the committees. I think it's good to slot any proposals of this nature, especially that might double a line item. It's not, in the broader scheme of things, a big amount perhaps, but it's still doubling of a line item. It might be good to kind of slot it back in the budget process, and so come back with a proposal, and so we could include it in that sense, would be my preference. And thirdly, I agree with you, it would be good to hear from the vendor. And you know, and to Debbie, suggestion, maybe there's a different vendor out there as well, you know, if you want to look at a different vendor.
Well,
Yep.
we can only look at a different vendor if we're not under contract, but.
Yeah,
But
that would be
I
good to
do-
know to the nature of the contract and
Yeah,
when it's up for review. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have no, this is
No,
I'm just
those are all-
procedural.
those
I don't
are
have
all-
any strong preference. I'm
yeah,
totally fine. It looks like a good company, blah, blah. It's all
Yeah.
good, but
but
it
those
might
are all
be
good.
to kind of do it this way.
Those are all good questions, especially the fact that this really is part of the budget discussion for the next fiscal year, even if we have some money this year, you have to decide whether you want to use reserves for this or some other thing that's more important. We have no idea what cost overruns there might be at the pool and all that, so I don't know if you're gonna
Yes,
want.
I think
Remember,
reserves
these are all your
reserves are-
decisions.
Yeah, reserves are for those things, right? We may not have the procedure set up, but that's the logic.
Yeah,
They're not for projects that don't have this time-bound
yeah.
act. So if
You
you
have to set.
you have a,
right.
yeah, I prefer that we do it through a budget process, especially since we've fixed it, I think, and it works really well. And Matt has done a really good job. I think it's a very inclusive process, and I can't
Well,
imagine why we would
y-
not consider this seriously. in budget
Well,
season.
you wouldn't be able to switch to the program to an opt-out unless you discovered what the fiscal impact is and move the funds. So it's
Yeah,
not,
and
so it's
and-
not, so it's not a simple thing that, yes, the council would make a decision opt-out is instead of opt-in. So.
That's right.
So,
Maybe
and that's the point of why we have work sessions.
Yeah, maybe I could say. a
And
little more.
and Robin, just on that piece, on the opt-out piece, as someone works in the financial sector, I'm intimately familiar with the 401k success. The question is, has it worked for environmentally motivated steps? That would be useful data point. I'm curious, just as an aside, and we can talk about it separately. I know it has worked for financial, things that have financial implications on people's lives, but has it worked for when it's the environment? And my implication there is that it's possible that it has a mixed record on the.
Well, the point of these, I mean, everything you're talking about is why we have work sessions, is to raise questions and to gather information before we move things forward so that we make the best decisions possible. So I think that it sounds like to me that there's still a lot of questions and we need to,
Maybe I could say a little more too.
go ahead.
It is a budget issue. We're not going to see a doubling of the budget. My own feeling is we'll get up to about 60% of the town if we do well. But we can find that information out initially by doing the opt-out system, asking people, are they going to opt out? And then we'll get some numbers, hard numbers from them, and then we can put it into the budget. That's all doable. But with Debbie's point, yes, there should be education. We should tell people how to do it, the importance of doing it, get that out to people, and be aware that other communities are doing it as well now because they are. So, all right.
Okay, so the bottom line is, I don't think this is ready to go on a council agenda for January, opt-in or opt-out. So I think what we would do is plan to have this as an agenda item in the January work session. And we'll get
environment committee.
and we'll get it all. We'll figure it all out. Okay, thank you. The next item is the environmental committee request ban on gas-powered weed whackers. Right? Are you gonna?
Yeah, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. It's following up our ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. As you know, there is now a county ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Gas-powered weed whackers, they are noisy too, and they're more noisy than electric weed whackers. And that's basically the argument we have for banning them, and the only argument we have for banning them, which makes it a bit weaker than the argument for gas-powered leaf blowers, because they are extremely noisy, those gas-powered leaf blowers. So that's it. The desire is to ban them, and that's the committee's recommendation. And I should say there's a range of electric weed whackers now, or battery operated weed whackers that do the job, no problem. Have been for years.
Okay, so this issue is whether the council is going to ask the town attorney to draft a code amendment. Is that right?
Yes, along
Okay.
the lines of the gas
Okay.
powered leaf blowers, yeah.
Okay, good. Council President Circo, do you have questions? Maybe he's going. Councilor Heller, do you have any questions?
No, no, I don't. Thank you.
Councilor Kumar,
Once again, just in terms of the data on this and giving us a sense of why this is important, why we should focus on it. I personally know, but from a government procedural perspective, given that these things very materially impact everyday lives of residents, it'll be good to get that from the environmental committee. So when they come next, maybe we can ask them those questions.
We can ask them that question, yeah. I mean, it is, the noise from a gas powered engine is lower frequency noise than the noise from an electric motor. And those lower frequency noises pass through windows and walls much more easily than the higher frequency noise of an electric motor, so that they are more disturbing because of that. But I can get them to present on the details of it if you like. Yeah.
so I also think it would be good if I don't think the environment committee has so I take it they pass a motion to support the introduction of this code amendment. So I think before it even goes to a work session, that they should write an article and see what the citizens say about it.
I think Barton might have done that, actually.
I don't think so.
All right.
I mean, I'm not sure that he wrote it. I don't think that anything's been written about, that. I don't think so. But in any case, is anyone interested in having this move forward to have Ron draft a proposed amendment? Because that also could be published if you want him to draft it, and that could also be a starting point for the discussion. And a starting point for comments from citizens. What's your pleasure? Or do you want to wait and have the environment committee present it to you next month?
That would be my 2 cents. And if it's not time bound,
Heller, okay.
Enough.
Okay, so it sounds like there's not three.
Yeah, I mean, if they're coming in January, then they can talk about this too, yeah.
But the fact that you're even having the discussion about it is a good first step. Okay, thank you. The next item is zoning clarification letter and county rezoning. I think this is Councilor Barr.
Yeah,
We're gonna report on the meeting you just
Right.
had.
There was a 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock meeting this afternoon, which is highly relevant to this document. So anyway, the document comes from work by Irene Lane, who is the mayor of Chevy Chase, town of Chevy Chase. And she is proposing a code amendment to state law, which gives towns our regulatory authority, and that's the authority that allows us to have a building code. And at the moment, the state law applies to single-family residential buildings. And the amendment is simply to take out the reference to single-family. That's it, and it's 2 changes in the amendment with 2 references to single-family. It's known as a technical amendment, just tidying up the law. So that,
So perhaps, so this is a follow-up to the discussion we had, that I'm gonna ask the town attorney to elaborate on. But what Mayor Lane is asking is that the town of Somerset support a proposed amendment to the state code in this regard. And I did you get any information as to whether the state delegates are going to introduce it?
yes, I did, and I can tell you more about the meeting because there's more than that from the meeting, in fact. What the state delegates said, and there were 4 of them present at the meeting, was that this would have to be introduced as a late amendment to the 24 Assembly.
Right.
And late bills do very badly because they're late. So unless there's a strong emergency reason to consider it as a late bill, then it's gonna die because that's what happens to them.
So what is Mayor Lane? What's her leadership on? What is she suggesting we do? What is she asking us to do?
She didn't have, I mean, any recommendations at that time. I imagine there'll be a regrouping, and probably it will be aimed at the 25 session rather than the 24 session.
Sorry, Robin, I hate to interrupt, but just in the interest of time, can we know exactly what this agenda item is? What are we discussing here? Are we going to, is this going to be on the agenda for next month? Are we
No.
editing a letter? What's going on here?
Well,
Because
I think
it's
what he's
also hard
saying
to
is
hear
that
you, Robin.
I think what he's saying is that apparently the amendment, the legislation is not going to be introduced this session. So I think that I don't think any action is gonna be required by our council. Isn't that your understanding, Mr. Town Attorney?
Councilmember Barr's report is the first I've heard of what transpired at the meeting. But
Okay.
based on what I just heard, it does sound like the chances would be better with the regular session 2024.
So,
Do we have the time for that overall?
Well, right, I mean, I got more to say on that too. Obviously, delaying it to the 25 session led to the worry among some of the municipal officials there that that would be too late because the technical zone amendment process would have already passed the county council, and builders would already be knocking on our doors to put up these other residencies. So fortunately, the director of planning for the county was there along with Andrew Friedson and Kate Stewart. So the director of planning said that the zoning text amendment is still in their hands. It has been delayed because they were without a planning board for some time, and there's a whole story on that if you want to know. They now have a new planning board, and they intend to give it to their new planning board. But the new planning board is still setting up, and he doesn't think that the zoning text amendment is going to come through until the late spring from their office to the county council.
okay, well, to Councilmember Kumar's question, I don't think that we're gonna be taking any action on this in January.
Right.
So I think we should defer until we get more information. Yeah. Okay, thank you. The next item is building stormwater application checklist draft review, Mr. Town Manager.
So I'm gonna. Is it helpful if I share my screen? I guess for the council, I guess just to tee you up. We got some comments at the last meeting from a resident who's in the midst of application process, and that made me think of just in general as our code is changing, as we're presenting this information to the council, that I wanted to make sure that we were all aligned with the information that was most useful to you when it's being presented. What's in our code? What's the checklist that you all are going through? And so I drafted a at least the start of a worksheet that would go through building, tree removals, and stormwater of the things that our code regulates. So this would sort of serve two purposes. One is, as part of the application process, any applicant is aware these are the things that I need to figure out and need to present as part of my application, fill it out, and that also makes that whole process a little bit more efficient in terms of them doing the work, us checking it, and then also helpful from your end on these are the things that are in our code right now. If that's not enough, then we can think about how our code needs to be changed, and also just presentationally an easy way for you all to see on a very basic level, this is what's required, this is what's presented, so therefore does it conform to our existing code. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll leave it there just in the interest of time, but I'm happy to share it if we have specific how much in the weeds we want to get into it tonight. But I think the general idea was to get your feedback and invite open discussion on a standard checklist that would be presented to the council for applications.
Okay, thank you. Council President Circo. Is he gone?
Well, he's
I
on the
hope he
screen.
found
He's
his
still logged in,
cats.
but he may be
I hope he found his
otherwise.
cats. Hopefully he found the cats. Councilor Barr.
I have no, thanks for the information, Matt, I have no comments on it.
Okay, Councilmember Heller.
Sorry, if I
Here's
just
Steve.
cut in, I just had technical operator problems getting the mute off my iPhone.
Oh,
Apologies. I think a checklist is a good idea as a reference for the council and as a tool for town residents. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see when sort of consolidated into a checklist what it really totals up as.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Heller, did you have any comments or questions?
No, I like the idea of it too, so thanks, Matt, and I don't know that we need to get into the weeds on this. You put it together and show it to us, that we'll probably do, and I think we should thank Deborah Shulman for pushing us to think about this, even though I don't know that's what she meant to do. But thank you, Deborah, I see she's on.
Councilmember Kumar.
I went through it, Matt, and it looks like it has all the areas we need at the highest level. What's not clear to me, where will this show up exactly? This will be the cover, like a cover sheet to the packet?
Yeah, my idea was that actually it was part of, this is part of us updating also the application so that an applicant would also fill it out.
Got it.
And then we would check that work. And then, as you said, in the presentation to the council, this would be kind of a cover sheet to say, you know, at a high level, here's the information for this application.
So keeping that in mind, it would be good to see the full product, so to speak, because I wouldn't want, you know, so that it's not repetitive. Ideally, we are streamlining at the highest level goal.
Yeah,
Not adding more
Right.
bureaucracy with the desire to reduce bureaucracy. So
right.
there, you know, it would be good to kind of get a full sense of it. But I like the data-driven, you know, tabulated approach to this, and these are the key pieces of information. So thank you for doing that. The second question is, there is a meeting, this is in the stormwater code amendment, where there is a pre-construction meeting. Have we made changes to the code where that pre-construction meeting applies to all construction? Or is it only in the context of stormwater? Or have we ended up in a kind of practice where you're having pre-construction meeting independent of the code? And maybe Ron has our answer there.
Yeah, I think we've in general are and in practice setting up a meeting for all construction projects anyway, with either with Doug internally and if stormwater is available, also setting up a meeting with Bayland right now. And Tolbert actually, you know, will meet them. So it doesn't always happen that it's one meeting where everybody's all together, but it's happening piecemeal, if not all together.
Okay, just as an adjacent issue, if we need to make any changes to the code to kind of facilitate that early encounter with the applicant, you know, I just wanted to put, you know, I know it's not specific topic, but we can come back to it.
Councilor Kumar, I think you wanted the town attorney to weigh in here.
Yes, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I'm looking at the code right now. Don't have an answer for you yet.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay.
And
So
thank you,
Matt,
Matt.
thank you. Matt, on this item, what's the timeline, or what? You're just gonna bring this back in the future?
Yeah, I'll bring it back at a future work session, either January or February. I'll work on actual presentation so you all can then give specific feedback if it's useful for you. or if it needs to be tweaked from the way that it's presented aspect. But it's helpful to know that I think we're on the right track, at least in terms of the information that you want is in there. Now it's a matter of packaging it in a way that's easily consumable.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for your work on this. And if anyone has a brainstorm between now and the next time we have this on the agenda, please, I would encourage you to get in touch with Matt. The next item.
So,
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Town Code Section 112-5G provides that for new construction, a code compliance informational meeting must take place before the permit application is processed. And at that meeting, information is exchanged regarding town building, stormwater, tree removal, and other requirements.
Thank you, Ron.
Yep.
So Councilmember Kumar, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. I'll
And-
circle
and-
back with Matt separately.
And
Thanks.
so do you have any suggestions about further work you want us to do? We can work on in this area.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I can pick it up on email. I just wonder if it should apply to all construction projects and if that Matt has any sort of lived experience lessons from that.
Well,
that
why
we
don't
can bring
you
in.
talk to Matt and then
Yeah.
Perhaps he will put forward a proposal for
I'll do
a
that.
change to the code.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is Cumberland Avenue Town Entrance Plan and update regarding the Little Falls Parkway entrance. And this was something I wanted to put on the agenda because in talking to our contractor, Kelly, she has learned that the majority of the area around the Little Falls entrance is owned by Park and Planning. So before she can come forward with some proposals, we need to, and I will work with the staff, we need to come up with some kind of MOU with Park and Planning that we can have the ability to do what we want to enhance our unsightly important entrance, and that they will be able to bless it and give us the permission that we need. And there's also that we also have to work, I think, with the county and with Pepco, because they have some equipment there that we might want to alter in some way. For example, there's the Pepco, there's a really ugly box there. I think you've all seen, and Kelly had some really creative ideas about how we could paint it. We could have our youth involved with helping to design something very nice, and because we really want to have an entrance there that is befitting of the character of the town. Because as you all know, and as you all have agreed, it really is unsightly, and it's not welcoming to our guests and our citizens. So that's all I wanted to say about that. The next, so stay tuned, because I would like that we do some funding for, and we actually improve that within the next fiscal year. So the next item is civility training with legit, Mr. Town Manager.
Yeah, this is something that the council president had expressed interest in and investigating, and it turns out that the town's insurance provider actually does an civility training exercise for the clients. So I think I had written in the short little memo to the council, the person was pretty flexible with how we wanted to do it. So he said, he can do it early in the morning, but for those that are working, if we want to get it in before your workday starts, if we wanted to do a daytime one or an evening one after. And then I think the other element is who we wanted to invite into it. I assume that our staff can take part in it, but that's up to you. Also, if we want to invite any committee members or other folks that we think might benefit from learning best practices on efficient and professional meetings. There's options for January and February if we wanted to move ahead with that. So I don't think this necessarily needs to be a council what's the an agenda item at the actual town council meeting. More just a scheduling administrative thing. If we wanted to, people want to look at their calendars and kind of send me some dates that might work for them, then we can facilitate that.
Council President Circo, did you want to add, since this was your initiative, did you want to add anything? Oh, okay, so I think Councilor Kumar was going to say something.
I was just gonna say, we talked about this before and we had sort of said, let's try and use one of our work sessions could we do something like that, use a pre-scheduled meeting?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Like just add a
Yeah.
30 minutes to it or add an hour, like.
How long did they say the training would last?
I think it's 45 minutes. So
And
Okay,
it,
so
yeah,
what-
I can double check.
I think that's a
That
good
way.
idea.
yeah,
Since
and it
everybody
might
has
be-
that on their calendar. And
exactly.
perhaps we could add, we might, if we had a lot of agenda items, we could extend the meeting a little bit.
We could, and also it's maybe good practice for us to have some learning sessions of this kind at work sessions throughout the year, starting
Okay.
with civility training. We're always open to you educating us, Jeffrey, on the inner workings of government. So maybe we should have a mayor education session at some
Okay.
point in the future.
Okay. Good idea. We'll keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. So the last item is, and we're gonna end early. So you all can back to your holiday celebrations. So we put this item on committee chairs because I wanted to let the council know that we have some changes. We have Elizabeth Hurwood is retiring from. Didn't I say Hurwood?
Yeah, you said
Didn't I-
Herwood.
I did say Wood.
Yeah.
Hurwit, right, is retiring, and Otsko is retiring from the Equity Inclusion Committee, and I think there's one other.
Paige
right?
Whitley's stepping down.
And Bolton had said
Paige.
she was after this budget cycle.
Oh,
Like, well,
and
she was,
so and as you know, the season we are now in the process of contacting all the committee members, and but what I wanted, because a lot of the terms are up now, but what I wanted to say is that I'm really going to need your help, every council member's help in starting to identify some of the newer citizens who are highly talented, who are ready to volunteer in our really vitally important committee structure.
Yeah.
Especially the council members who have children in school, because there's a lot of the parents, your co-parents, that are the most likely candidates, rather than the longtime citizens that we have recycled over and over again. We're thankful they're willing to serve, but it's time to start passing the baton. So I'm looking at one council member who knows a lot of the newer residents, and I see the name of another council member who couldn't be here tonight that I'll be calling on to help identify these folks.
Yeah, and I will say the traffic committee is desperate for members, because Elizabeth Hurwitz herself is not only stepping down as chair, she's leaving the committee.
All of the committees
And,
All the committees are.
and a second committee member is leaving the town, is moving elsewhere, so they're
Who's that?
really,
Who's that?
it's, oh God. I get it confused, and yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
Ann's
so
doing right.
I'm very happy to help Jeffrey and think these committees are important. I was going to say that it would be good to create term limit structure on committees, so that sort of minimum terms.
Well,
For
that's,
chairs. And
so that's,
one
that's,
suggestion, which is that if you're going to retire, there's a retirement period. Like, so you have a minimum of 3 years, and then you have a 1-year roll-off period, so that it's not this cliff.
okay.
You know,
Well,
let's
all
think
those
about.
ideas need to go through a process.
Yes.
That's not with it. So if you want to present your ideas for that, that's fine.
There
Yes.
is, it could be, there is the stuff happens problem, Paige Whitley's stuff happened, her husband died, was what happened.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if there are incidents like that, but
Right?
You know, and that. What were you saying, Councilor Heller?
go ahead, Debbie.
Here, whose husband died, it was Paige Whiteley, right?
Paige.
Paige Whitley's husband died.
But let me point out that the problem that we're having finding committee members is not unique to the town of Somerset.
Yeah.
It's as you all know, it's a national issue.
Yeah, volunteering. is,
So, yeah.
And then I'll just say this now, but we should talk about this, and Anne has views on this as well. On the budget committee side, maybe there are ways in which we evolve that structure more fundamentally. So we'll come back to a proposal to the council on that front with a view to the long term.
It's all good.
Yeah.
We're always open to making changes, improving our system, which has come a long way
Yes.
last 20 years, and it's because
Presented humbly.
It's all because of new ideas, right? All because of new ideas. It's because of me. It's because we had progressive people. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. We'll see you.
Thank you,
on remember, the next meeting is January 9th.
Someone raising their
Great.
hand. Maybe you want to follow up with them, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you
Safe
for being
travels.
understanding.
Safe
Bye.
travels.
Happy holidays, everybody.
You too.
Who's